Hello everyone, I am Bradley Sward, and this video today is the 2022 Advent of Code Day 7 solution for the problem otherwise known as no space left on device, and I hacked the hell out of it. So I got an answer, definitely not, I'm proud of getting to the answer, I'm definitely not proud of my code, but I'll show it anyway, because getting to an answer is at least the first step, and if this was something I was outside of just a hackathon Advent of Code event, I would definitely be working this thing quite a bit now that I've prototyped out the solution. So basically, we're going to have a directory system, and inside of that, basically, it's all recursive, because in any directory, you could have a file, or you could have a whole nother directory, and inside that directory, you could have files and directories, and so forth and so on. If you've ever ran from a command prompt in any operating system, you kind of know how this goes, whether it's Linux versus DOS or whatever you want. So anyway, so again, so if I set it up so that every time you would go from directory to directory, you would just maintain a list of items, basically list of directories to kind of progress into. And I only cared about anything after the fact when I went to do a dir on, or ls, I guess in this case, and I found something that was a file. That's when I would go to put the file into a whole nother recursive list structure. And only at that time. I don't care about any of the dirs here because I'm like, oh, okay, that's great and all, let me know, but I'm only gonna worry about it when I have a file to add into my theoretical file system. And then there's like 6 layers of hell in this thing. But when you get to wherever you need to get to, you either know you have a file or a directory, and then you kind of progress your way through, and then we can kind of process the data and kind of do whatever we need to do with it. The first step was making sure I could get to something. And so here, part 1, that's part 2, but anyway, part 1, you could see all the millions lines of code I heard. Here's my stuff. And then basically, it was easy to read it in at least, because I already had that written for me. And there's a couple files here. But basically, just saying if I saw a CD, depending on what I saw, I would either, if this was dash, I would just completely remove the directory and bring it back to root. If I would ... I would pop off whatever was the last element in the directory. Otherwise, I would add, and I'm presuming that these things exist. That was a big part of this, is just presuming that the directories did exist, and I wasn't going to be trying to push off into things that didn't and then cause huge issues. It seemed to work out for me. So I say, okay, whatever I'm supposed to go into, let's go into that directory because you told me to go into it. And then if it's not a CD character, our CD prompt here is going to be an ls prompt, and basically check to see for every line that comes after it, as long as there's no little $sign to say that we're done listing things. If it's not a dir, let's add that file into the thing I already have. And so basically, and I just set it up so that I have it by name of file and then the size of file. Have it in reverse order. And then I'm going to go, oh, I'm going to put this in whatever directory I told you to. And then basically, here is my file system right now that I have. Add this thing into this directory, pop it into this file system. And again, I don't expect anybody to understand. I even quit on it, almost went to bed, and then I'm like, oh, I think I have an answer. I even wrote some stuff down. Got a couple pages of fun code, but I do have that answer. So let me just bring this back up here. Open the file, set up everything, and then parse this, and as I go here. And so when I add a file, here it goes here, basically saying as I recurse my way through, and I'm using recursion to get this thing to work, I go, if I've reached the end, then put the file into the file system at that point if I can. Otherwise, go ahead and try to find the next element to work into, because then there's still things to go into. This is saying I found my directory, and this is saying that I still have to find something to go. And so in this case, I go, well, have I found the directory inside of here? And if I have, then if I have found it, then let's add it in. And if I haven't found it, then I got to create a whole new one and then go into that one and continue on. And again, I don't even know if this is necessary, but it works with what I've got. So one way or another, this works one file at a time to put that file into this file system from the directory starting from root. So that's the add function. And then to sum everything up, I hacked, this is like a global variable, and again, not proud of the work, but you can say if I'm going to start from the root and sum up everything, sum up every subsystem and subdirectory, this is kind of how I can get to it. Again, not proud of the code, but if I get to this point by summation, then I know I've hit the end of a directory, and I don't necessarily care what directory. I just care, the directories. My goal is to sum up all of the directories and all the subdirectories that have a value of less than 100,000. And if one of them is, then I add it to the total. And then at the end of the day, I don't even care about this returning of sum at this point. Whatever this total is going to be the solution to my problem, at least for part 1 here. So let's see, let me run this. You can see I've got some 919,137, which just happens to match up with my answer to part 1. Okay, so then now part 2. Again, this is just, I'm just getting to myself to a solution. So now, looking back at part 1, I go, okay, this is the number, 428, or is it million? 42,805,968. That's how big my program is. I need to find the smallest subdirectory that brings that. When I subtract this number off, if I were to delete it from this directory, whatever subdirectory that is, that I would get a value less than 40 million here. So it's a number just above 2.8 million. So let me go into part 2 here and just forgive all the mess. Almost all of it is exactly the same here. Whereas this, and this time around, instead of summing up everything, I just created a list and added the number to the list. And again, don't mind all this nonsense. But at the end of the day, I just wanted, the numbers didn't seem right. But what I did was I just made sure when I printed out the sum of the totals here, don't mind everything here. And I go, okay, don't mind all these numbers. But at the end of the day, what do I care about? I care about that number. Remember, it was 42 million 8 something. So I need a number, the smallest number larger than 2.8 million, and it happens to be this one right here, 2,877,389. And when you put that in, lo and behold, you get the answer to my problem. I get to go to bed and all of the other things. And some of you are still just waking up or whatever from around the world and watching this video, and I always appreciate it. So for this one, I'm just calling this a one-off. I got an answer, not proud of it. I learned from it, can move on. But if you do have simpler ways to reduce down my hackathon, as always, I'd love to hear. So thanks for sticking it out with me as always. Have a great night. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. And hope to see day 8. We'll see. This thing's getting, there you go. It's already getting a little harder. So have a great one. See you for day 8.